Have you ever had a moment where something just felt off, even though you had no proof? Or maybe you instantly liked someone and later found out they were exactly who you needed in your life. That little voice in your head, that sudden sense in your stomach, the feeling you couldn't explain. That's intuition, and believe it or not, science is taking it seriously. Let's get into the fascinating psychology behind why you sometimes just know, even before your brain has all the facts. Intuition is often described as knowing something without knowing how you know it. It's quick, it's emotional, and it often feels irrational. But it's not magic. It's deeply rooted in the way our brains process information. Think of your brain like a massive storage center. Every single experience, memory, and pattern you've ever encountered is stored there, even the things you don't consciously remember. Intuition taps into that hidden data bank. It's your brain recognizing patterns based on years of quiet learning and experience. So when something feels right or feels wrong, that feeling isn't random. It's your brain sending a fast emotional signal based on what it already knows beneath the surface. Now, let's talk about something super interesting and kind of weird when you first hear it. The idea that you have two brains. Not literally two brains sitting in your skull, but two systems in your mind that work very differently. Psychologists and neuroscientists often refer to this as System 1 and System 2 thinking, a concept popularized by Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman. System 1 is fast, automatic, and emotional. It's your gut instinct. It's what makes you slam the brakes when someone jumps in front of your car, or feel uneasy around someone without knowing why. It's powerful, intuitive, and incredibly efficient, but not always accurate. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, deliberate, and logical. It's the part of your brain that kicks in when you're doing math, analyzing a problem, or making a pros and cons list. It takes more effort to use, but it's where rational thought lives. So what does this have to do with intuition? A lot, actually. Your gut feelings come straight from System 1. They're based on patterns your brain has picked up from past experiences, usually without you even realizing it. If you've ever said, "I don't know why, but something feels off," that's System 1 trying to get your attention. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're at a job interview. Everything seems fine on paper, but when you sit across from the manager, you feel a strange discomfort. You can't put your finger on it, but your stomach is tense and something just feels wrong. That's your System 1, scanning for danger based on years of unconscious learning. Maybe you've dealt with a toxic boss before, and your brain remembers subtle cues like body language, tone, or facial expressions. Your logical mind, System 2, might be saying, well, everything checks out, but your intuition is pulling you in the opposite direction. Here's the twist. Both systems are useful, but they don't always agree. Sometimes, trusting your gut can save you. Other times, it can lead you astray, especially if your instincts are shaped by past trauma, biases, or fear. For example, if you grew up in an unpredictable or unsafe environment, your System 1 might be overly sensitive to threats that aren't actually there. That's when your intuition becomes less of a compass and more of a false alarm. So, learning how to recognize which brain is speaking to you and when to listen is key. This is where self-awareness comes in. The better you know yourself, the more accurate your gut feelings become. Here's a helpful way to think about it. Use System 1 to notice first impressions, emotional reactions, and physical signals. Then, call on System 2 to investigate and confirm. Ask questions like, why do I feel this way? Is there a pattern here? What does the evidence say? In other words, intuition works best when it's not your only tool, but part of a dialogue between your two brains. And that's what makes it powerful. Because when your heart and head work together, you start making decisions that feel right and make sense. Here is an example. A firefighter once shared that during a house fire, he suddenly yelled for his team to get out without knowing why. Seconds later, the floor collapsed. He didn't see danger. He felt it. Later, analysis showed his intuition picked up subtle signs. The fire was too quiet, the heat too intense. His brain had stored years of similar situations and warned him. That feeling saved lives. This is not just a story, it's evidence of how intuition, when trained by experience, can be shockingly accurate. Now here's where it gets tricky. Your gut isn't always right. We love to romanticize intuition. The idea of being guided by some deep inner wisdom just feels so empowering. And sometimes, that's exactly what it is. But other times, it's your fears, your past wounds, or your unconscious biases talking. And that can steer you in the wrong direction. Let's say you meet someone new and something about them immediately puts you off. You're not sure why, they haven't done anything wrong, but your gut just says, nope. That could be intuition, or it could be your brain recalling someone from your past who looked or acted similar and hurt you. Without realizing it, you might be projecting an old wound onto a new situation. Or think about fear. Fear loves to disguise itself as intuition. You might feel an instinctive urge to turn down a great opportunity. Your gut says, this isn't right. But what if that feeling isn't insight? It's just fear of failure or fear of change. That's not your inner wisdom talking. That's your comfort zone throwing a tantrum. Here's the hard truth. Not all gut feelings are good guides. Especially if you've experienced trauma, rejection, or chaotic relationships in the past, your intuitive system might be working overtime to protect you, even when you're actually safe. This happens a lot in relationships. Someone with an anxious attachment style might constantly feel like their partner is pulling away, even when things are fine. Their gut says they're losing interest. But that feeling is shaped by their past, not the present. So how do you know when your gut feeling is wrong? The key is to pause and check in with your body and your logic. Ask yourself, is this a familiar feeling from past situations? Am I reacting based on fear or fact? Have I felt this way before and later realized I was wrong? And most importantly, give yourself time. Intuition often feels urgent, but real clarity usually comes with a little space. Also, talk it out. A trusted friend or therapist can help you see the bigger picture. When you're inside the feeling, everything feels real. But once you put it into words, you might notice, wait, maybe I'm just scared, not actually being warned. It's not about ignoring your gut, it's about testing it. Treat it like an important clue, but not the whole case file. When you learn to separate fear from intuition, past from present, and triggers from truth, that's when you can really start trusting yourself in a deeper way. Not just reacting, but responding. Not just following a feeling, but understanding where it came from. And that's where real growth begins. Let's talk about the two faces of intuition, trained and reactive. This is a powerful distinction that can help you understand when to trust your gut and when to double-check it. Trained intuition is what you develop over time through real-life experience, learning, and practice. Think of the firefighter story. He walked into a burning building and immediately sensed something was off, even before seeing any flames. That's not magic. It's thousands of hours of experience stored deep in their brain, allowing them to make fast, accurate judgments without consciously thinking about it. The same goes for a seasoned therapist who can pick up on a client's emotional state within minutes, or a skilled athlete who instinctively knows where to move before the play happens. That's trained intuition. It's fast, but it's backed by deep knowledge and pattern recognition. Now compare that with reactive intuition. Reactive intuition is more emotional, more impulsive. It's often shaped by our fears, past traumas, or unprocessed experiences. It's the kind of intuition that makes you want to ghost someone after one awkward text, or avoid public speaking because your gut says, this is dangerous, even though it's really just uncomfortable. Reactive intuition isn't bad, it's trying to protect you. But it's like a smoke detector that goes off every time you toast bread. It's oversensitive. And if you don't learn to tell the difference, it can lead you to make decisions that are more about avoiding discomfort than moving forward. So how do you tell which one you're working with? Here are a few clues. Trained intuition usually feels calm and clear. Even if it urges quick action, it doesn't come with panic. Reactive intuition feels more intense and emotional. There's often anxiety, urgency, or fear wrapped up in it. Trained intuition stands up to scrutiny. If you slow down and think through it logically, it still makes sense. Reactive intuition often falls apart under reflection. Once the emotion fades, you might realize that wasn't insight, that was just fear. This doesn't mean you ignore reactive feelings. It means you approach them with curiosity, not obedience. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? If it's something you've experienced before, like feeling unsafe around someone who reminds you of someone from your past, acknowledge that. Then ask, is that about now, or is that an old tape playing? With practice, your intuition can become more trained and less reactive. The more you reflect on your decisions, learn from past mistakes, and stay aware of your emotional triggers, the sharper your inner compass becomes. And that's the goal, not to silence your gut, but to fine-tune it, to turn it into a trustworthy guide instead of a loud alarm. So how does intuition affect your romantic relationships? Few areas of life stir up our intuition more than love and relationships. Whether it's the spark you feel on a first date, the sense that something isn't quite right in a long-term partnership, or the inexplicable connection you have with someone, you've probably felt your gut trying to guide you in matters of the heart. Let's be honest, romantic relationships are emotionally charged. They're full of hope, fear, past wounds, and deep desires. And because of all this emotional intensity, your intuition is often very active, sometimes helpfully, sometimes misleadingly. So how can you tell when your intuition in relationships is telling the truth, and when it's being hijacked by fear or past trauma? Here's the key. Healthy intuition feels clear, calm, and grounded. It doesn't scream, it doesn't panic, it's not impulsive. If your gut is warning you about something, it will usually show up as a quiet knowing, not an emotional storm. For example, you're dating someone new, and even though everything checks out on paper, something just doesn't sit right. You feel a tightness in your chest around them. That's intuition. Or maybe you've been in a relationship for a while and things seem fine, but deep down, you sense a growing distance. You notice it in the way they don't make eye contact as much, or how they dodge vulnerable conversations. That's your gut picking up subtle shifts. But here's where it gets tricky. Intuition in relationships is often clouded by our attachment wounds. If you grew up with inconsistent love, you might mistake anxiety for intuition. If you fear abandonment, you might see danger where there is none. If you fear intimacy, you might push away people who are actually safe. That's why it's so important to do inner work alongside trusting your gut. The more you heal, the clearer your inner signals become. Here are some practical ways to tune your intuition in relationships. Journal your body reactions after being with someone. Do you feel drained, anxious, or unsafe? Or do you feel energized, calm, and seen? Check for patterns. Have you felt this gut feeling before with others? Was it accurate, or was it fear dressed as instinct? Talk it out with a trusted friend or therapist. Sometimes verbalizing your gut feelings helps you see if they're grounded or reactive. Slow down. Intuition works best when you give it space. Rushing into things, whether it's love or confrontation, can drown out the quiet voice of wisdom. One more thing, healthy relationships actually strengthen your intuition. When you're with someone who respects you, listens to you, and creates emotional safety, your nervous system relaxes. Your body feels safe enough to speak clearly. You begin to trust yourself more. You feel seen, not just by them, but by yourself. On the flip side, if you're constantly overriding your gut in a relationship, making excuses, explaining away red flags, numbing your discomfort, there's a cost. Over time, you lose touch with your inner compass. So if there's one takeaway from this section, let it be this. Your intuition is your ally in love. It wants to protect you, guide you, and help you grow. But it can only do that when you learn to listen with discernment and with compassion for your own past. You may be thinking, how do we actually develop healthy intuition? The kind you can trust, the kind that guides you instead of misleading you. First, let's be real. You don't develop strong intuition overnight. Like any skill, it takes time, intention, and a bit of self-honesty. But the good news? Every single person has the ability to strengthen their intuition. It's already built in. You just have to learn how to listen to it the right way. Step 1. Slow down. We live in a world that's always rushing. Notifications, decisions, pressure. It's easy to confuse urgency with intuition, but real intuition is quiet. It doesn't shout. To hear it, you need space. Practice pausing before responding. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? That moment of stillness is where intuition can speak up. Step 2. Tune into your body. Your gut feelings literally live in your body. That tight chest, that sinking stomach, that lightness when something feels right, those are all messages. But many of us are so used to ignoring our bodies, we miss the signals. Start checking in with yourself regularly. Where do you feel tension? What does your body say before your mind even forms a thought? Step 3. Reflect on your past decisions. Look back at times you followed your gut. When did it lead you right? When did it lead you wrong? What did those feelings actually feel like? This builds pattern recognition. You'll start noticing the difference between intuition that's rooted in wisdom versus emotion. Reflection turns scattered instincts into real insights. Step 4. Heal unresolved emotions. This is a big one. If your intuition is always fired up by fear, insecurity, or trauma, it's not truly free. It's reactive. The more emotional healing you do through therapy, journaling, prayer, or self-work, the more space you create for calm, grounded intuition. Think of it like clearing the static so you can actually hear the message. Step 5. Practice mindfulness. Meditation, even just 5 minutes a day, helps you become more aware of your inner signals. You start to recognize thoughts and emotions as they arise, without letting them take over. Mindfulness makes it easier to spot when a gut feeling is actually a passing emotion rather than a deep knowing. Step 6. Trust, test, and learn. This one is a cycle. As you start trusting your gut more, test it gently. Make small decisions based on your intuition and see how they turn out. Over time, you'll learn when it's accurate, when it's not, and how to recalibrate. It's not about being right all the time. It's about building a relationship with your inner guide. Lastly, stay humble. Even the most intuitive people get it wrong sometimes. That's okay. Healthy intuition is curious, not arrogant. It's open to being corrected. That humility is what keeps it honest and keeps you growing. At its best, healthy intuition is like having a wise, compassionate friend inside you. Not a fearful one, not a panicked one, but one who knows your values, sees the bigger picture, and reminds you who you are. And that kind of intuition, it doesn't just help you make better decisions. It helps you live a more authentic life. One of the most overlooked parts of intuition is the role your body plays in it. We often think of intuition as something that happens in the mind or the spirit, a sudden insight, a flash of knowing. But the truth is, your body is the first place intuition speaks. Ever walked into a room and felt your stomach tighten for no reason? Or met someone and immediately felt a pull toward or away from them? That's not just emotion. That's your body picking up subtle cues, faster than your conscious brain can process. Let's break this down. Your nervous system is constantly scanning your environment. It's like a radar, picking up signals, tone of voice, facial expressions, energy, body language. Most of this happens without you even realizing it. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. That's why intuition often shows up as a feeling in your body long before it becomes a thought. This is where the concept of embodied intuition comes in. It means learning to trust and read the signals from your body as valuable information, not just noise. Because while your brain can lie to you, rationalize, justify, overthink, your body doesn't know how to lie. It reacts honestly. But here's the challenge. Many of us are disconnected from our bodies. We've learned to numb, to suppress, to ignore sensations and emotions. Stress gets shoved down. Emotions get buried. Over time, we stop noticing the signals. That's why part of developing intuition means rebuilding your connection with your body. Here's how you can start. Body scanning. Take a few minutes each day to check in. Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel open? Over time, you'll start noticing patterns. How your body reacts to certain people, places, and decisions. Somatic practices. Gentle movement like yoga, stretching, or even walking mindfully can help you reconnect. These practices bring awareness back to the body in a non-judgmental way. Name the sensation. When you feel something in your body, name it. I feel tightness in my chest. My shoulders feel heavy. Naming it helps bring it into conscious awareness and allows you to begin interpreting it. Create body-based rituals. Before a big decision, instead of thinking harder, try sitting quietly and noticing what your body feels. Does it lean in? Does it pull back? That's wisdom worth listening to. The more you reconnect with your body, the stronger your intuition becomes. Because intuition isn't some magical force floating in the air. It's deeply grounded in your biology, your nervous system, your emotional memory. So when people say, trust your gut, they're speaking to something very real. Your gut, your literal gut, is lined with millions of neurons. It's sometimes called the second brain for a reason. It stores memory. It senses danger. It also senses truth. In the end, intuition and the body are inseparable. The more you learn to tune into your physical sensations, the more clearly your inner voice speaks. And the more you honor those signals, the more aligned your decisions and your life become. Here is a challenge. Many people have lost trust in their own feelings because they've made mistakes, ignored their instincts, or been told not to trust themselves. But rebuilding that trust is possible. And it starts with listening, with compassion and curiosity. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to pay attention. Over time, your gut can become a trusted guide, not just a whisper in the background. Because intuition, when understood and trained, can be one of the most powerful tools you have for navigating life, love, and everything in between. So, should you trust your gut? The short answer, sometimes. But more importantly, learn to understand your gut. Learn its language. Teach it with experience. Heal it with compassion. And don't let fear speak louder than wisdom. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, give it a like, share it with someone who always feels things, and remember to subscribe for more psychology made simple. Your inner wisdom is real. Now it's time to learn how to hear it. We'll see you in the next video.